Should you draft the Khalil Shakir in fantasy football this year? Well, let's talk about it. Yes, Khalil Shakir, the white bread of the fantasy wide receivers. Khalil Shakir emerged last year as, I guess, what you could call the wide receiver 1 in the Bills offense. He finished as a wide receiver 32. He's currently going as wide receiver 43 and the 81st overall player. And Shakir is a really interesting guy because he is a floor receiver. You are drafting Khalil Shakir because you want you're wanting what's hopefully a stable producer in a wide receiver room. Like if you have a bit of volatility in your receiver room, like, you got a Tyreek Hill in there, you got maybe a Terry McLaurin in there, guys who have a little bit of red flags going on with them, and you want some stable production. Khalil Shakir is your guy. Because last year, at least in PPR, this dude was a consistent 10 to 15 points a week. He had 2 weeks where he went for 19, and he had 3 weeks where he went for less than 10. But besides that, it was 10 to 15 points every week. And I think that is about what you can expect out of Shakir this year if on the upside. Like, I think Shakir has very little upside. And that is my big problem with him, is I don't see Shakir evolving into this guy who is putting up more points per week on average, or who is getting these big explosive weeks. I think Shakir will continue to be just a solid receiver who's putting up solid numbers, but nothing too fancy or flashy. On the downside, though, the risk of Shakir is an emergence of Keon Coleman. The Bills did draft Keon Coleman with a very high pick in 2024, and they probably still have high hopes for him. And I have high hopes for him because he did flash last year, but he was very much not really that productive, and he didn't have that many catches. But if Coleman puts it together this year, we could see a bit of a fall-off for Shakir. And they also added Joshua Palmer, who I wanted to be something last year on the Chargers, and he really wasn't. But he's not a bad receiver. He is another, white bread receiver like Shakir. So he could also take away just a little bit of targets from Shakir, and all of a sudden you're looking at a guy, Shakir struggling to break 12 points instead of, consistently hitting it. And that's the thing about Shakir, is I just think that there's, a little bit of cause for concern with Coleman or Palmer taking away some of his targets. And I think that the upside just really isn't there. But I do think that, like, if you need a guy who probably has some solid production, you need a wide receiver 3 or a flex receiver, I think you can do worse than Khalil Shakir. So I'm going to give him a grade of C.